Here in Europe, in the early 20th century, 21st century, after the 9/11 attacks, there was an incredibly fast movement of atheism that had risen up again. Just like the atheists of the previous century, the 20th century, they believe in their religion, they believe in their ideology, and they believe this should be prevailing upon Islam in particular. They wrote books like God is not great. When we pray, what do we say? We say Allahu Akbar. We say Allahu Akbar. They wrote books like God is not great. They wrote books like The God Delusion, that the idea of God is a delusion. Just like the militant atheists of the Soviet Union, who were known as the League of Militant Atheists, these new atheists openly stated their animosity towards Islam, openly spoke about potentially a preemptive nuclear strike on Mecca. Imagine that. They, in their writings, people like Sam Harris, they openly are speaking about these things. Likewise, you had a very vocal journalist here in the UK. He was somebody who had a huge following. And this is before the days of social media. He is just a known figure in media, Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens said, the ones fighting for atheism, the ones fighting for secularism rather, is us, as in the new atheists, and the American army in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he was pro-war. He was debating for the intervention in Iraq. And the intervention in Iraq led to the deaths of over 1 million Muslims, and then led to the destabilization of that region. So we are talking about an ideology. When we're speaking about the movement which is known as New Atheism, which began after 9/11, we're talking about something that affected every domain of Muslim life, even in Britain, even here in Britain. So this particular book that I've come here today to speak about is called Dawkins Deselected. Now, Richard Dawkins is a famous evolutionary biologist. He's the one that wrote the book, The God Delusion. He's the one who popularized the New Atheist movement. He's the one who, even today, as Gaza is burning, as Palestinians are starving, as our brothers and sisters are losing their limbs, even in this situation, he is mocking Islam. Because remember, for a genocide to take place, there has to be a level of dehumanization. And new atheists, before and now, today, they want to dehumanize Muslims. They can't do it in the open way that the Nazis were doing against the Jewish communities, but they'll do it in other ways. So, during the holiest day in the Islamic calendar, on the day of Hajj, on the day of Arafah, the day in which we are all worshipping Allah and the Muslims are in that holy place, there is a genocide happening in Palestine. What does Richard Dawkins, the head of this movement, decide to do? He decides to go on Twitter, where he has a massive following, and take a picture of the Kaaba and stick it on there and say, Islam is a mental infection. This is dehumanization. And they want to do this. And remember, things don't have to pan out with direct violence. As Sam Harris writes, the situation of the Muslims in Europe should be made more difficult. Sam Harris or another atheist, Douglas Murray, one of them said this, right? The situation of the Muslims should be made more difficult across the board. So the thing is, if you look at how Muslims are stopped in airports, or how Muslims may not get planning with permission for when they're building a mosque, when Muslims have the far right to try and antagonize their communities as they did last year. We had a dawah table up north where all they were doing was they were just handing out Quran and speaking to people about Islam, and the far right came and attacked it and threw everything on the floor, including, Islamic books. Why do they want to do this? Because fundamentally they see Islam as the enemy.